Hello, everyone. This is your host, Akhil Jabbar, and welcome back to another episode of SaaS District. In today's episode, we'll be talking about turning finance teams into growth drivers using AI. Today, we have our special guest, Julio Martínez, joining us. Julio is the co-founder and CEO of Abacum, which is an AI-native FP&A platform built to help finance teams drive efficient growth and drive real business impact. With Abacum, he focuses on turning finance into a strategic function by giving teams real-time visibility into their KPIs, automated reporting, and providing better forecasting, planning, and decision-making. Before founding Abacum, Julio spent over 2 decades across finance and technology, beginning his career in investment banking, working in New York, São Paulo, Zurich, and London. He then transitioned into tech, where he launched multiple fintech products and deepened his focus on building solutions for finance teams. So originally he's from Spain, but now he's based in New York. And Julio brings a global perspective and a practical operator-driven mindset, which will help companies, which we'll talk about today, scale with greater clarity and control. So welcome, Julio. Super excited to have you on the show today.
Well, what a blast to be here, Akhil. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, so I like you said, we've chatted. You've spent many years in investment banking. You spent many years in working with fintech, where you finally decided to go and build your own SaaS company, which is today, Abacum. Maybe you can just start off sharing a little bit about your global perspective and your experience and how finance should operate inside a SaaS business to help our listeners.
Yeah. So I think fundamentally, finance teams oftentimes still today in SaaS businesses are very stuck as a back office function, right? And they are optimized through efficiency. Right, we think of them as this is a cost. It belongs to the G&A, right, to that part of the P&L where it's a pure cost, and then it's a back office. We want them to close the books very fast and then pass the audits. And look, that's okay, and it makes sense, right? That part of operational finance is very relevant, and definitely you want to judge that part of operational finance through efficiency. Right. So for founders out there, you got to pay your bills. You need to collect your money, and then you want to close the books, and so cool. Like make it very efficient, and then through technology, and we can talk about it. Like you can get that very efficient. However, I still think that a lot of founders keep on underestimating how much value a well-equipped finance team can bring to the table when it comes to providing clarity and helping in decision making, which is the strategic part of finance, right? The forward-looking function. And maybe we will unpack this during our conversation today. But I would encourage SaaS founders to really think through, is my finance team today similar to revenue operations? Are they really helping me inform pricing decisions or product expansion decisions? Do they belong to the table? And sometimes, the conversation starts with, do I have the right talent? Right. So to start with, right. So like you need the right team to in order for you to accomplish that. But then you need to go to process and technology, right? Team, process and technology to then build a very strong, fast scaling finance function, which is what matters, right? You scale. How do you have a finance team that, keeps up with that growth?
Yeah, I was able to guide you and make sure you can stay ahead with the forecast of what you plan, right? And stay on top of that.
Absolutely. Yeah, because it depends on the stages, right? Like obviously, if you are a Series C, even a Series A company, probably you don't need much, right? Like if we are very honest, right? So maybe a little bit of planning for your next fundraising round, maybe a decent budget that you share with your board and a few things, but it's mostly getting the operations right. Like that should be mostly enough. You got to know, your ARR, a little bit your gross margins, a few things, make sure you have money in the bank, so runway, and, in seed, almost A, well, you see very big A's today, so arguably things are changing, but in general, you can keep things very simple. Really, you want to spend your time in, some other functions and obviously product market fit and distribution and so on. But as you continue scaling and B, C, D, and beyond, right? Like in that, but B and C especially, like this is the time to build your foundation so that when you continue scaling, it doesn't break. So you want to make sure you have the right team, but also the right tech stack and infrastructure across the different tasks that the finance needs to be doing. And especially I would throw the invitation that a finance team that is well equipped can provide a lot of strategic clarity to the rest of the organization, revenue teams, sales, marketing, and beyond.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, before we get more into the weeds and deep into that, I'd love to hear a little bit about your background. So you worked in investment banking and technology, and then maybe if you can share a little bit what prompted you to start Abacum. What was the core problem in SaaS that you saw in finance that needed to be solved, and you're like, this is what we need to build?
Yeah, a few things, right? So I spent many years in investment banking, right? I think this is a great training ground in general in life for many reasons. But I also work with a lot of organizations that were working at scale with a lot of systems, and certain things were going very well, but they really lacked the agility, right? There were some systems and infrastructure in there, like legacy systems that lacked the agility of equipping the finance team to really get pace with the business, right? To have the insights that matter at the time that it mattered. So then I moved into fintech, as you said, and I think that the problem was almost the opposite, right? We were launching fintech products to market very, very fast, right? So there was almost no scale. There was almost too much speed and not a lot of thinking about how to scale this properly. And so we made a lot of mistakes, actually, probably too many. And we call them learnings. We call them learnings.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
And so what prompted me to connect the dots and say, hey, this is a problem space I understand very well, but what we need to solve was, first of all, the data foundation, right? You want to have a single source of truth with all the metrics that matter to the business in one place, always clean and in real time to be analyzed. And that essentially means not all the accounting data, which arguably is a lagging indicator and the business doesn't care too much. You want to have your CRM data, right? HubSpot, Salesforce. You want to have your HR data for headcount planning. So stuff coming from the HIRS, or the ATS, like the hiring system, say, system. And then, but also even oftentimes in SaaS, we have a lot of metrics that matter, that are operational and that matter to the business, right? Not details that, maybe only matter for marketing, but, that move the business plan where you need to make decisions. And they are in a Snowflake, in BigQuery, in Redshift, in Looker, in Tableau, in a BI, so elsewhere. You really want to connect everything and have it always clean in one single place, right?
Right.
That data foundation is critical. So this was the very obvious problem we started with. We'll speak, I'm sure, about AI at some point today. So we cannot miss that. And of course, we are building a lot. But hey, I talk to a lot of finance teams and founders, and we oftentimes want to run before we walk and before we crawl. And then we all want to deploy a lot of AI to scale the business, but then the data foundation is not there. So it is imperative that we do the right investments at the data foundation level so that we can 10x our impact. We can multiply our impact through AI. And a lot of people are not doing this in the right sequence of operations, right? In the right order of operation. Yeah, so this is the starting point for us, what we wanted to accomplish. Okay, single source of truth. And then on top of that, then you can start running algorithms. You can start doing your forecasting. How do you see the business? You can start running scenario analysis. This is critical, like all the what if questions. What if we launch this new product? What if we change this pricing? What if we reduce a little bit of cost? What happens with our runway? All these more business-minded questions that allow us to make decisions in startups.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I think we see that a lot, right? In our M&A experience as well, right? Like it seems so intuitive that, data is all collected and it's managed and reported in one place. But marketing teams, sales teams, HR, accounting, and being able to get it all together. And it just takes so much time and trying to gather that data and put it together. And like, it's like months wasted just trying to understand it also. Completely understand, like this is just having that in one place and being on top of it. You're just able to make decisions a lot quicker and move, right? So
totally.
Yeah. Yeah. So in SaaS companies, like you said, when you're moving really quickly, you start becoming reactive, right? Like you get to this point where people are asking you for data or for information or what decisions to make, and you're like, wait, we don't know. We start scrambling, looking for the data and trying to make sense of it and what to do. So what do you think what needs to change for it to become like a real driver of growth?
Yeah, that's a great question. So what you just described is what we always call the human API problem. That finance teams and also revenue operations teams, they become the human API problem. They become the bottleneck. Why? Because, imagine it's Monday morning, right? And then, you've already got a question from the marketing team, about whatever things in pipeline generation, the sales team, whatever, qualified opportunities. And then, the CEO wants a couple of scenarios because they just had a conversation with the board, quick and dirty, and this and that. And then you have 5 questions going on. And then all of them are then channeled to you in finance, right? Or to your revenue person. Like somebody is, because that somebody is the bottleneck and the API between the rest of the business, the rest of the organization and the stakeholders and the models and the data. So all that data foundation, it's not only the data, right? You need to have the business logic, which we call models, right? What you would model in a spreadsheet, but only that the spreadsheets break and are not enough at some point in time. Like for a long time, they are awesome. So then you have this human API problem where, this finance person gets, screwed all the time because all the questions are channeled there. So what you really want to accomplish is to have a data foundation and a single source of truth that scales beyond finance, right? And with AI, this is more possible than ever before. Right. So obviously at Abacum, we provide this single source of truth. This is what we've always done, where all the metrics and all the answers that you need to run the business are always there sitting, waiting for you. But very importantly, and this is critical, anybody in the business can consume that data, and not only through tailored dashboards that everybody can check in a very collaborative manner, and then you can run approval workflows and, be very decentralized for people to consume information and make decisions. But even more importantly, you go to your Claude instance and then you start chatting with Abacum, right? Very conversationally. You go to Slack and then in Slack is connected to Claude and then to Abacum. So then, you come from, so we meet the customer where they are. So a lot of these questions that marketing has, like they are just chatting now. And then, but finance know, hey, the answers are accurate. They are coming from Abacum. So we have no hallucinations, right? Like we have all the security measures, all the governance measures, all the guardrails, all the scalability so that we ensure the answers are correct. And then, the rest of the teams are unblocking themselves and then they make better decisions. That's the cutting edge really of a finance function that is meeting the business with the right information at the right time.
Right. So I'm assuming before this, this a lot of it sit in different, kind of spreadsheets across different departments, and now you're able to bring all these into one, beautiful place and a unified place. So speaking about AI, which is kind of the heart of this conversation, is like I'd love to hear kind of what. Maybe you can share a little bit. What AI trends are you seeing specifically in that SaaS finance teams and the office of the CFO are using and interested in?
Yeah. So, AI is in high demand in finance. This is what I know. I see it in high demand everywhere else. But we'll get back to what you mentioned about spreadsheets in a second, given also the question on AI. Look, finance teams are today mandated to embrace technology and embrace AI, not only in their own teams, but also to oftentimes, make sure like the rest of the organization is adopting AI with the right ROI. And I think, first of all, we are moving from adopting AI at all costs to, what's the ROI of some of the token consumption that we are seeing. And this is more of a prevalent conversation that, as the hype cycle normalizes a little bit, we'll start having some of these conversations, right? And I think this is key in finance and beyond. But still, CFOs and VP finance and head of finance and finance teams are mandated with, driving efficiency, driving productivity, ensuring is a scaling with less, more with less, right? Efficient growth, like the same mantra that we had before. And then, of course, AI is a critical lever today to accomplish that. Within the finance, so it will be an ROI conversation for AI adoption in finance teams, in marketing teams, and elsewhere. Within the own finance team, how can you use AI to scale your own AI function, right?
Yeah.
Look, I think very critical use cases that we are building in the platform are going to be, for instance, you mentioned spreadsheets. Spreadsheets are awesome. Don't get me wrong. I used to be in banking. I used to model without touching the mouse, and I was very proud about it, which is very embarrassing in retrospect, but I was that guy, right? So I love spreadsheets. So don't get me wrong. But at some point in time in your scalability journey, they become a burden, because they don't scale anymore. You cannot collaborate in spreadsheets, the data volumes, it's operational risk. There are a lot of human errors always. So they break, and this is the reality of spreadsheets. And you can always have them here and there for some ad hoc calculation, but really you want to have your data and the core of the business logic in a robust system that is very flexible and easy to manipulate, which is obviously why we built Abacum. The thing today is that, for instance, with our AI modeler, you can. You prompt the platform, hey, build me the 3 statements, the 3 financial statements, and then build me 3 scenarios on this ABC. And then the platform builds it for you at a level of accuracy that, then the human in the loop will check, will audit a little bit. Oh yeah, this makes sense. Like a couple of provocations, like what you do with Claude, right? Or GPT or whatever you like to use, right? You continue prompting, you adjust, but then all of a sudden, something that took before, scenarios that took, a very long weekend, long nights, and this and that, then people are doing in a couple of hours in our platform. Or models that used to take 2-3 weeks to build when it comes to the next budgeting cycle and stuff. It's now, 1 day and a half and everything is done. So, this is the critical impact through AI modeling. But also you have a lot of other types of, what we've built is a multi-agentic experience naturally. So, you have AI agents monitoring your data, detecting anomalies, right? You have AI agents surfacing insights proactively, and then communicating that in a Slack or elsewhere to different people in the company that want to be in those loops. So you can do AI-driven variance analysis with a lot of explainability. So there is a lot that you can, not only automate, but actually enrich in the conversation with AI, right? So it's given your finance team and your revenue operations, and we also work a lot with revenue operations, and then they do the pipeline review and everything with us. So it's giving them superpowers. So really it's built the tailwinds in very, very tangible ways.
And, kind of going deeper into that, how are you seeing maybe, with the AI tools or within Abacum, when you're working with some SaaS companies, how are you seeing them work with it for specifically do forecasting, maybe for planning, and then also revenue predictability versus how they did it previously? What are the changes you're seeing in efficiency as well?
Yeah, totally. So what we used to see before was, hey, maybe an Excel file with a lot of complexity, and then many tabs and copy paste and from CSV files from different systems, and then finance teams doing VLOOKUPs, index match, and some ifs to clean the data, and then start copy pasting that data into maybe 30 different Google Sheets, are collaborating, by department or product here or country. And then consolidating this data, and then all of a sudden the board or the CEO needs a scenario, and then I have now all this complexity, and then by the time some budget owners give you data, your versions have already evolved because you're running that scenario. And look, if you're running a very small shop like that's okay. This is when it breaks, right? Or even with volumes of data. So doing scenarios and relevant forecasting with that setup where, all the data is siloed in scattered systems, and then you need to manually be keeping it alive and making sense of it. That's a very old way of doing things, right? And it breaks. I think going forward, finance teams and actually SaaS companies, really. This is in my mind way less about finance these days, but actually board of directors, management teams. You want to have a democratic use of data where there is a high confidence, high trust on the numbers. Like there are no 4 CAC definitions in the business, 4 whatever it is, ARR oftentimes even these days, and gross margins, this, that. No, like there is clarity on the definitions. There is clarity on the data. Everybody's in high confidence. We are all looking at the same metrics. They make sense. They are in real time. They are always updated. They are clean. So the conversation is never about data quality and things like that. Like you are just jumping into the conversations straight to the inside. So this is very important. And then layering AI on top, like AI has been very powerful with finance use cases and revenue operations use cases very recently, right? Like we're talking about months tops. Before that, it was okay, but not that promising. Since the release in February of, say, Opus 4.6 and then some other ongoing releases, it's been a quantum leap for us. So really the value that you get from an FP&A platform like ours has been multiplied dramatically. So we used to, we're a SaaS ourselves. We are growing very fast. We were growing very fast already in the day, and we already added a lot of value to our customers. But arguably today, like given these tailwinds that which have nothing to do with us, right? Like we are just benefiting from them. So like we need to acknowledge what is out of our control, but we are really capitalizing on the AI trend and incorporating all of those use cases into the product. And that is given finance teams a capacity to, with the right data foundation, surface the insights and the information that matters when it matters for the business to make that decision. Prior to us, finance teams usually show up in the conversation pretty late, right? The business decision has been made. Like maybe they even have the right information, but it's news. They show up the 15th of the month with information from the previous month. Say, hey, like this is my investor report, and then seriously, who in the management team takes a look at that? Like oftentimes, not even the CEO. Like they don't care. Like they send it to the board, like whatever they did. So how do you make them timely? How do they show up the first day of the month with maybe not 100% closed books, but still directionally correct information so they can inform decisions? Because through AI, they an ML and some other algorithms, they can predict what's going on better. They are more timely. They can inform decisions, from products to launch, geographic expansion, performance, anticipating that pipeline coverage is not high enough or it's too high, and then we need to hire more AEs. Like, how do we get them to bring that information to the table when it matters? It's totally doable today with Abacum and with AI technology.
Yeah. And maybe for SaaS founders who are listening in today, they have some kind of system in place. They may think they're doing it well. They think they have their data clean and they're making decisions based off of that. Maybe real time. It may not. They may be checking it once a month, like you said. But maybe you can share a little bit what you've seen. Where do maybe most SaaS companies get it wrong when it comes to financial planning and scaling efficiently, so that they can maybe think about applying it today and helping them become more efficient and plan better?
I think, a lot of SaaS companies, imagine go through a yearly budgeting cycle because maybe the board forces them to do it or because they care. I don't know, but so they go and usually it's going to be, some of the fastest people out there, they do it in a month, but most people will do it in 2 months. And then of course you have the horror stories of 3-4 months, which is a total waste of time and highly inefficient. And then, obviously they start the fiscal year and they don't touch it much. And then maybe halfway through the year, maybe after Q1. So some teams do it, quarterly. Some teams even, first half of the year, and then they revisit those numbers. And so you get where I'm going, right? At the speed at which SaaS is moving today, that is a useless exercise. That maybe you're going to keep your board happy or to pretend that we are good operators and diligent, but really is not helpful for the business. Like, why does that matter for the business? The reality today is very, very fast paced. So, and this is in SaaS, but also beyond SaaS, right? In other industries as well that are heavily adopting technology. But I think SaaS is even more changing than other industries. So I think we have a more compelling reason to adopt technology faster. But in SaaS, like, of course, monthly, what we call rolling forecasting or monthly reforecasting, quickly revisiting, like that's imperative. But I would even argue that you want to have those real conversations almost weekly. There is a capacity to be having pipeline coverage conversations, close rates conversations, and understanding like all the go-to-market topics that typically you have in SaaS, but also some other metrics. And some metrics you want to review monthly, right? Like probably gross margins, you don't want to review every week. But from a weekly perspective, like you can get finance very embedded and very helpful in revenue teams, for instance, and be driving performance for you in the organization. So you as a SaaS founder, you might have revenue operations teams, you might not have them, whatever, but it's a very powerful partnership to have finance together with revenue operations driving performance for you in the business, in the pipeline reviews, in the deal reviews. So because they have the wealth of data, they see the evolution of the stages in the funnel. They know how to ask those questions. They know the pipeline coverage. They see the acquisition channels, what's working, what's not working, week after week. They can have a very meaningful conversation with marketing. Hey, what are the campaigns that are performing the best? Why don't you double down there? What's the ROI here? What's the ROI there? So you have a true force multiplicator for you as a founder, for you as a CEO, for many stakeholders in the business. To leverage finance to go the extra mile. This is how really best teams are operating. And you would be surprised. Like there is a lot of people already today, at least in the markets where we operate, and definitely here in the US, in New York and working at this level of rigor and quality.
It's really about, speed of making decisions and better decisions, because, you're able to see, real-time updates, whether you want to check it daily, or having these conversations weekly, but then you're able to make changes and make better decisions and move quickly, which is all the point of growing and scaling and operating as a SaaS company, especially if you're VC backed, right? So yes, so maybe for last question here to leave with our audience, for SaaS founders and finance leaders, maybe what's one shift or change they can make today that you recommend to help them turn their finance into a strategic advantage?
Look, I would say the first step is always getting right the data foundation. And I think a lot of people think they have it, but they don't, right? There is still a lot of manual steps involved. There is some aspects in the data that are not covered. So getting the data foundation right is what matters most. Like, I think for founders, they need to evaluate if they have the right team or not for what they want to accomplish. But in any case, regardless, having the right data foundation for revenue operations and finance for business decisions matters a lot. So that single source of truth is critical. That's, I would say, the first step in the right direction. From there, then you can 10x your operations. From there, you can 10x your operations and the value that you get from, finance and revenue operations. From there, you can really deploy AI. And I think the provocation that we have with our customers oftentimes is, hey, unburden in us, in Abacum, like all the finance engineering. This is complex, by the way, right? This is complex. I think we have a lot of, young finance professionals that, they build a lot of things and it's fantastic. And we always encourage that. I think as you continue scaling, hey, we have a team of 8 engineers and growing, right? We continue hiring and increasing their productivity with AI, that they are just obsessed about these use cases. So oftentimes, like, the provocation is, hey, I'm obsessed with, SaaS companies and, how to add more value. And so is the rest of our team. So once you start building that data foundation, we do it. You can you can start extracting all the value that you need without worrying about security and scalability and compliance and governance and all the guardrails that you need for this to be consistent. So, but anyway, so getting started with the single source of truth is the right first step.
Yeah, get the data, and then you're able to just make sure it's clean, make sure it's all in one place, and then you can move, and run as quickly as possible without feeling that you'll break your business, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I think also the collaborative workflows. So, oftentimes the data foundation, we feel, hey, I'm stuck behind the desk, and I'm still siloed. I have my data foundation. Now, what do I do without it? I think having structured collaborative workflows that engages finance and revenue operations with the business in a structured way is also critical for finance teams to have a broader impact. Right. And those collaborative workflows means, from headcount planning to OPEX planning to revenue planning, right? How are you doing that collaboratively? How do you get these teams embedded in their rituals and operational cadence of the company on an ongoing basis so that they can unlock their value? And from headcount approval to making sure, we see that all the time in our customers, right? Like, finance teams and revenue operations teams, they're identifying that the pipeline for account executives is slower than what you wanted, right? So the sales capacity, so you start seeing that problem coming, right? It happens a lot the other way around, right? It's like, maybe your pipeline generation functions are still lagging, but then you're moving. Like, if you don't have the right coordination and the right workflows, it is oftentimes like we see a lot of companies still making those same mistakes, or we hired too many E's and now we don't have the pipeline. Well, that's a very old problem for us to continue having, right? Like, how do we, or the other way around, like now we have a lot of pipeline, but then we don't have enough sales capacity, which is arguably a better problem to have, but still you're leaving money on the table that pipeline is expensive to generate. And now you don't have enough capacity to take good care of the, and allocate enough time and resources and love to each one of those conversations. So then how do you get finance and revenue operations really dialed in to those weekly conversations so you prevent that from happening and you run a tight operational shop that is optimized?
Yeah.
That matters, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, at the end of the day, we're allocating capital. You have capital, you have to deploy it. And it's like, how do you prioritize that? And where's the best place to put it based on the data that you see versus, being wasteful or inefficient and not seeing, like guessing versus being like very clear, like this is working. This is the best solution. This is where we have to put our money, where we need to double down. This is where we're no longer spending, where before it was like, hey, let's try this, let's try that. And it was maybe works, but now it was very clear. This is where we need to allocate to grow, right? Yeah.
100%.
Yeah, love it. This has been great, Julio. I think our listeners will get a lot of value. I'd love to shift gears here, move towards the rapid fire questions. Are you ready for that?
Awesome. Yeah. Ready for it.
Yeah. Let's do it. All right. Julio, what's one activity you enjoy outside of work and spreadsheets maybe that gets you into a flow state?
Yeah, I think oftentimes is either surfing or mixed martial arts or, some of the training I do that, these are sports that force you to be in the present for sure. You need to be 100% devoted. So it's easier to get into the flow. I mean, I try some other activities, but then maybe I don't get the flow.
Yeah. Love it. Julio, what's one piece of advice you wish you had known? And if you could go back, you would tell, let's say, your 25-year-old self?
Yeah. So I think I'm telling actually my kids, and I mean, and they're 14, right? So but definitely the younger me is maybe a couple of things. So one is very important to me. Learn to enjoy the process as soon as possible, right? Learn to enjoy delivering the inputs and don't get attached on the outcomes as soon as possible in your life. Because I oftentimes feel I have not learned it yet. And that's a shortcut for unhappiness. So, and I think it takes many years to really learn this for real. And I've been trying, but I'm working on it. So I wish I had started this journey of really focusing on what you control, caring about the inputs, really, focusing on the love for the craft, the love for the game, and then maybe, delaying a little bit that obsession and that focus and that attachment to the outcome and the results that we get in, which of course in SaaS is difficult. Like, you're looking at the ARR numbers and all these metrics we talked about, and then you want to grow and deliver. And, if you are venture back, then it's even worse, and this and that. And then you're trapped into that. When really the only thing that matters is that you are really obsessed with the inputs and that you enjoy those inputs. And so that's something that I'm actually, trying that, my children are competitive in sports. And so I'm trying them to, to foster that in them. And I think it's a great opportunity for them to learn it now rather than later. So I would that one.
Love it. Yeah. So it's a lot of patience, right? And like enjoying the reps that you're putting in and just day in, day out, put in the reps. So be patient and don't be impatient for the results of it. Yeah. One day you'll just wake up, you're like, wow, there's results, but you gotta go through it. Julio, what are some of the biggest challenges you're currently facing in order to continue to grow? Meaning, what keeps you up at night these days?
Pushing the brand forward, right? I think we are growing very fast, and then our brand recognition has grown tremendously, but like it's of course not enough, and we need to be known by every finance team in the markets where we operate. We have customers in more than 40 countries, and we have global ambitions. And obviously, the US is our not only the biggest market, but it's a very broad market, and our brand recognition, is today my great obsession. I think, hey, the product the product is very strong. We know we have the best product for our ICP, and we continue investing, and we are all increasing the modes. But I think until we are not top of mind for every freaking finance team and CFO out there, like we won't stop. So that is definitely my obsession today.
Love it. Who or what are some of the best 3 resources? These can be books, maybe mentors or people you follow in the space, who you'd say have been most instrumental to your success over these last few years?
I read a lot. Well, I shouldn't say a lot. I read what I can, or whatever. But I would say, I'm a big fan of Stoicism. So I think there are some Stoicism books that are awesome, right? By Epictetus or Meditations by Marcus Aurelius. That is critical for anybody, I think. But I think more business related, I would say that it's not that recent, but maybe, maybe 5 years ago, something like that. Amp It Up by Frank Slotman. He is the former CEO of Snowflake and previously ServiceNow. So not a founder, but definitely took SaaS organizations from arguably oftentimes zero ARR to the billions, right? So like awesome successes. And Amp It Up is a great book of how he thinks of leadership and prioritization in a company. So I think it's a simple book, but I remember it being very influential for me. Maybe another book that I've promoted a lot as well is The Score Takes Care of Itself by Bill Walsh. It's an older book, so definitely not recent, but this is all about how in sports focusing on the inputs that matter. With obsession and precision, will eventually yield results. And then to your point, Akhil, like you gotta be patient. I think Bill Walsh had to wait at least 3-4 years of doing with obsessive precision all the inputs that matter before he saw any results. But then when the results came, he won the Super Bowl like 3 times in a row. Like some crazy records back in the day. But hey, it took time and it took a lot of discipline, and the toll was very high for him and the team. So that's a great book as well.
Love it. Good recommendations. We'll put that in the show notes. Yeah, I think I've read. I can't remember if it was like the Golden State Warriors team, the coach who really focused on just having to like tie their shoes very carefully and like precisely. It was like just focus on these little details, but yeah, it's like these little things that adds up, and then eventually,
totally
get to the result you want.
He had a different position, right? Because he was not only the coach but also the general manager. So he wrote scripts for even the people picking up the phone as to how they would answer the phone to enhance the brand. how would players would dress, right? Tucking in their shirts. Nobody's sitting on the field, like the helmets, you drop them here and there. And this is big stars, right? This is Joe Montana and all these fellows, right? Like he wouldn't give a damn, right? Like he would be very, very obsessive with every single detail, right? And running a very, like everything is written down, everybody, very clear expectations. So almost running a business, right? Like in a way, like probably you want to have it written down, managing very clear expectations with the team. This is precisely what is expected. You're expected to follow. And then, these are the consequences if you don't do it and this and that. So, and then with that, the results will come, but then don't waste your energy in craving for those results, right? Which is basically what he suggests in the book.
Yeah. Awesome. Julio, what does success mean to you today? Whether it's personally, business, financial, life, I guess there's no right answer.
From a business perspective, to me, it's clearly having that customer success that we have today, right? That customer praise and recognition. I used to be like my co-founder and I, both of us come from finance and for industry, right? Like we are both our persona. So we are the classic story of, we were in the trenches, bleeding in the head, and now we're building the product we wish we had, right? So by nature, we are very customer obsessed because we have this high sense of identification with them. So like recently, one of our customers, like in a very large organization, actually, like close to 2,000 people, she was sharing that she rejected a position, a job offer, because they wouldn't implement Abacum in the short run, and then she saw no way back to the spreadsheet hell she used to live in, and she just thought like, hey, these guys are dinosaurs if they are not ready to implement top-notch technology. So stories like that is what really give me energy and get me going, and where I identify my success with. I think more at the personal level. I'm a family guy, so spending time with my wife and kids is, really all the success you need.
Yeah, absolutely. This has been great, Julio. I think our listeners will get a lot of value from what you've shared, and hopefully they can make sure to check out Abacum. Is it abacum.com? We'll make sure to put the links in the show notes. But where's the best way that founders or listeners can get in touch with you and learn about you and your company?
Yeah, I'm very active in LinkedIn, posting about all these topics. So Julio Martínez from Abacum. You type that, and then please find me in LinkedIn. I love to have conversations, and we are very active with the founder and finance community out there.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Julio. Appreciate you joining today.
Yeah, thank you so much, Akhil. It was awesome.
Cheers.
Thank you all for watching this episode and joining SaaS District today. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell for future episodes where we interview top leaders in the SaaS industry. If you're a SaaS company looking to grow and unlock the true value of your business, get in touch with us at Horizon Capital, and myself or one of our consultants will provide a free assessment to help you get there and hit your goals. If you have any feedback or suggestions for this podcast, please comment down below and help us improve our content for you all. Thanks again, and see you on the next one.